Hello, hello. Oh, I'm not on mute. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our 59th weekly call. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, but the hashtag UPT Rame for Indonesia Week. I'm going to bring on stage. Oh, hey, Spaceman. Good to see you. As every week, it's always great to see you. And Sasha, what's up, guys? Let's bring on Jesse.
Hey.
Join us in a little bit. Hi, Jess.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good afternoon, also, everybody, or evening, wherever you are in the world.
I like you're being festive. You're kind of matching the half of the flag colors of Indonesia.
I got the red and the white.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Very happy to have. Oh gosh, Indonesia this week on X, they were really coming through.
Yeah, I saw that. That was awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, how's your week?
Pretty great, actually. Yeah, just really busy. Rex. We had earlier in the week, as you know, we had a AI coding session with the team. How do you actually set up some scripts and have AI work smarter for you?
Mm-hmm.
And it takes some time to set things up, but once you do and get in the habit of it, you just move so much faster. And this is beyond just asking ChatGPT or Grok questions. This is actually integrating into your workflow, and so that actually constantly spits out unit tests. You can double check your work. You can just go and actually have AI be your code reviewer. And surprising, a lot of programmers don't do this. It's just they're more reactionary. They might install it as Copilot, or maybe just like I said, check their answers. But it does take a moment just to step back and say, okay, this week I'm just going to actually properly set this thing up and do it right, and then you can really 10x your productivity. So we did that. We do that a lot. We encourage our whole team to do it, but we really had an awesome code session, and that was early this week, so that's cool.
Yeah, that was cool. I've been on the hunt, and anybody who's listening, if you guys can point me in the right direction, I've been on the hunt for what we have for coding, something for interface design. It's hard to find something that will help you help you design faster. And I don't just mean UI, I don't just mean interface, but also experience. But I guess first step interface. It's actually pretty hard to find something. I've tried Lovable, I've tried DeepSide, I've tried a few things, and sometimes I just want inspiration, not necessarily. I don't need the whole code. I don't need anything like that. I just want inspiration, and I don't want to just go on Dribble or something like that. But
yeah,
it's kind of hard to find something like that. That's just give me a quick mock-up. I've tried ChatGPT. I've tried one of the other ones. I already mentioned some of the other ones, but yeah, it's just not really working the same way as it works for code at the moment. Unless I'm missing something. Does anyone have any recommendations?
Yeah. There are things coming out. They move so fast that you can spend all your time just doing research on AI tools.
Yeah.
I think the main thing you're looking for is you want a mock-up that matches our current style, and that's a thing of time just to set up.
Yeah, that's hard to do.
Whenever you use Lovable or use Replete or any of these mock-up tools, they all just have this. You can kind of say, hey, use material design or use this design, but they all end up looking almost the same.
They do.
They look the same because they're using probably the same. They're probably all instructed to use the same libraries, or they're trained that way. So but it would take a little extra effort. But you could actually pull in our CSS library or like our UI library, like Gitbook or something, and then maybe it will give you better mockups.
Yeah, but so I'm looking for something like a new structure, like just inspiration. Oh, actually, Christopher's here. Let's bring Chris on. Maybe Christopher can have.
Hey, Chris.
You're on mute.
Hey. Oh,
hello, everyone. How are you?
Good.
Good. We're talking about the AI team session that we had earlier this week.
That was fun.
And I was talking about how I wish that there was something similar or tools that were just as robust for code as they have for code for UX or some design. It doesn't even need to be UX, just interface, UI. So there's not really much there right now that, or maybe there's stuff there, like mentioned in the comments I mentioned earlier, there's things like Lovable, DeepSide, Replete, but it's not at the point for me right now where it makes things faster. If I want to
Well,
make it generic, it makes it faster. But if I want inspiration, I want something that give me a new idea. It doesn't do that yet.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think part of it is, AIs are largely built by programmers, and we just don't care about designers. So
That's true. I would hear, and you guys, I'm not a designer. I just became one out of necessity, startup life, But that it is true. I remember most of my friends are programmers, but some of them years ago would say things like, "Oh, we have 3 designers. They work at a big company. We have 3 designers on our team, and that's 2 designers too many." I'm like, I think you you need more.
Yeah, well, in a lot of cases, no. And I'm obviously just joking when I say that. I think the reality is, design is one of those tasks that's hard. There's a reason it's hard for humans as well, because it's very subjective. Code, in a lot of cases, of course, there's subjectivity and style and design and all that kind of stuff. But in a lot of cases, a particular piece of code either works or it doesn't. And you can sort of describe that functionality almost mathematically. I mean, that's what tests are, after all.
Yeah.
We're describing procedurally, in some cases even mathematically, how the code is supposed to work. For design, well, when you design things mathematically, what you get is what my designs look like. So, right, I shouldn't say shit about design, because my designs look like it's 1997, and my buttons are square, my text is centered, and it's all the same size. I can make that happen.
Yep.
That's about where my design language ends. I have as many colors of gray as I want, as long as many as I want is like 16. So I think design is harder for AI as well, because it's hard to have good training data, right? Because you don't necessarily know what is good design, and also what is good design changes over time. I mean, I think we all remember, there was the material design phase, and then there was like high contrast. For a hot minute, there was like like synthwave was kind of popular. I actually kind of missed that one. I
love synthwave.
I'm not wearing a Tommy Bahama shirt right now, but I love nothing more than a cigar and a Tommy Bahama and a mojito in Miami. So I want synthwave back.
Yeah.
I want it to look like an episode of Miami Vice. Actually, that's what we should do. I don't know. I know that Miami's not a country, but if we have like a Miami country week, we definitely need to go like full Miami Vice.
If we go by states, it'll take us 20 years to get through everything. That'd be hilarious, though.
Yeah, because we'll spend so much time in each big city, each party city. There's so much beauty to be found everywhere in the world. So
there really is. It's such a wonderful world with so many great places in it.
Yeah. So congrats to Indonesia week. Excited. And
yes.
They're in the chat. Let us know. Say hi. What's up?
Yeah, they really came through on X, and the Indonesian army. I love it. But real quick, harking back to design, have you guys checked out iOS 26? I installed the beta update. It is gorgeous. It is so beautiful. It's not glamorism, where it's kind of like glassy look. It's so much more than that. It's got like this incredible distortion behind like these glass pills, and it's almost like they're preparing us for VR views.
Yeah.
Like headsets.
Well, they're sure trying anyway. Not that I almost bought that thing, and I'm glad I didn't, because it's turned out to be a dud. Look, I am often wrong about the direction of design, often. So everybody should take this with that in the way. But this whole like glass design thing definitely feels like they didn't have anything to announce. So they're like, I know, we're gonna make some UI. See, I'm shitting on UI again, but we're gonna make some UI changes the centerpiece of our annual announcement. I mean, don't get me wrong, UI changes are an incredible amount of work, and engineers hate them almost as much as designers do. But when you're Apple, when you are sitting on literally $1 trillion, I want to see like a spaceship or a self-driving car or a robot or like something. But glass icons, I haven't installed it on a device yet. So all I know is what I've seen in like the keynote. I didn't even watch the whole keynote. I just watched.
It pretty nice. Like, it does remind me, Jen. Like it does look like it's going to prepare you for this future of augmented reality, VR glasses.
Yeah.
More ephemeral. Like not so much the screen's always in your face. Just like try to be less Yeah, less. I think that's what they're. I'm thinking too. That's my first reaction to it.
It's not quite there yet, but it's beta. I think they're going to get there. Also, let's give them a little bit of some grace. They don't have Jony Ive anymore. He's over at OpenAI now, isn't he?
Yeah, IO. Yeah.
Or IO. Yeah. Anyway, okay, guys, let's get into it.
I do want to answer. I saw a comment on here. Probably not the most important one, but Jakarta or Bali. I'm going to answer that one. Look at me. Do I look like I do yoga or like have peace in my soul? Absolutely not. Do I look like I like an awesome, huge, massive city that goes hard 24 hours a day, 365 days a year? Absolutely. I love Jakarta. Jakarta is one of the great, to me, Jakarta is almost, it's like a city from literature almost. It's like from Blade Runner or, I mean, I feel that way about Hong Kong too. I used to.
I love Hong Kong.
But Hong Kong was always like the city for me in a way. But Jakarta was like, it's like something from a science fiction novel in the best of ways. And I mean that it's big, it's sprawling, but it's incredibly accessible. And you can take a taxi if you want, or there's public transit, or you can take like a tuk-tuk. And the great thing about that is that you can just smoke a cigar in the back of a tuk-tuk at 2:00 in the morning after a whole bunch of beers. And like Jakarta's in the awesome street food part of the world. Like I like my tucker. I like a nice meal and all of that. But Jakarta, I'm 100% a street food guy. Just give me a beer, give me some nasi goreng.
Yeah,
and
there is pretty awesome.
It's great.
Yeah,
I've never been to Indonesia. I hope to rectify that situation soon. I mean, it's close to, like, I go to the Philippines. It's close enough. You know, I should just make a stop. So I can answer that question, Jakarta or Bali. Why not?
Well, we know we have a lot of community members there, so it'd be great to meet people in person.
Yeah,
I think so. Events. Yeah.
And before we
wait a minute, are you trying to argue your way into a business trip to Bali?
Always.
Okay. I mean, I like your head's
doing that first. I called dibs.
No, but I always like to go to weird industrial places. If it looks better on the business expense. Like, I went to industrial town. I went to Bali. It's
hard to it's really for work. But before we move on to the next to our agenda, speaking of Blade Runner, do you guys anybody want to feel really old? That came out 43 years ago. Yesterday.
How long?
43 years ago.
Oh.
What the fuck? Some of you guys weren't even born yet. But yeah. So it's weird to put movies in that kind of a perspective.
Good. Just guys, nice little trivia that you had off the top of your head.
Well, Chris mentioned wonderful film. Well, I mean, it's a good film. It's an interesting book. Just anyway, there's that little tidbit. Let's move on. I don't want to talk about how old I am now. I know I brought it up, but okay. So we got our introductions and you guys heard us shoot the shit for a bit. So that's number one done. We got a bit of a shout out from Moca Chain. In case you missed it last week, Chris will give us a quick recap of Solana APEX.
Yep.
Then there's the Istanbul Blockchain Week. And we have one of our own is going to be on stage, Mr. Roz. We'll talk about Indonesia Week. We got some product updates, not just Prism, and then we're out of here.
Sounds good.
And by the way, guys, if you have any questions for us, put them in the chat. I will keep an eye out for them and pin them or save them so that we can address them at the end of the stream. If it doesn't get answered before then by one of our many wonderful folks here in the chat that can help you with that. Okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, sounds good. So first off, I want to give a shout out to Moca Network. So they are launching the Moca Chain. And so they're building an identity layer on Web3. And so what this means, it's one identity, verifiable everywhere and with unlimited value. It's powered by the Moca Network, and there's 450 plus companies. They have over 700 million users and enterprise partners, and they are our kin because they're backed by Animoca Brands, who also backed UpRock last year. So we just want to give them a bit of a shout out. Congratulations, guys, on launching Moca Chain. And folks, keep an eye out for them. And you can follow them on X. It's Moca, MOCA. And I really hope I'm saying Mocha right. I'm just realized there's no H in that. But anyway, Moca_network.
Yeah, you said it right.
You never know.
I can't imagine any other way of pronouncing it.
Mocha, weird.
I don't know. But anyway, phonetically, Mocha _network. No H in that. It's not the coffee drink. Anyway, go check them out. And guys, big congratulations on your launch.
Yeah, you know, Web3 and identity has been an ambitious project of many companies since the beginning of crypto, like especially when I started with Ethereum. It's a really tough nut to crack, but these guys have Animoca brands and the portfolio companies is huge. They have a ton of users. So I think just adoption, if they can get all their portfolio companies to use their identity tools, they have a really strong chance of making it useful for a lot of users and for companies. So yeah, but it's interesting because this identity thing, you know, they're going to be, you know, one is you own your own data. Usually it's privacy by design. The big part that's interoperability. So like just having a lot of folks use it or adopt it is always the hard part. But since they have a lot of companies already that they support, I think that could be one bridge that they can actually cross faster. That's the hard part because otherwise you're out going out and do sales all day long. And then the big thing is probably with Web3 identity is supposed to be empowering for users. So I know if Mocha is doing something and a lot of their companies are gaming companies, you're going to just good thing to follow. Then there's going to probably be many cool ways for you to earn their Mocha tokens just by using their, you know, signing up for an account, using them, probably learn to earn. There's going to be probably a lot of ways so you can earn Mocha tokens. So that's my guess. It's got to be empowering, useful, and rewarding, which is what Web3 is, right? You're on mute.
Yep.
I'm sure we'll have them on the stream at some point. So I'm just pretty much like 90% sure that's going to happen. 110%. Let me be super confident. So we'll have them on the stream.
Yeah.
I just committed you guys. If you're listening, you're going to be on the stream. And yeah, let's have them talk more about Mocha Network and the chain. Cool. All right. Moving on with Chris. So guys, last week, Christopher and Reka, if you missed the stream last week, go catch it on video because on our YouTube, because not only was Chris in Budapest for Solana APEX, but so was Reka, and she was on our stream. So I know you know her name. You see her on Discord, you see her on the chat, and she is our amazing. I guess we're not saying programmer anymore. We're saying builder, but she is our rock star, Rockrolla Reka. She was on the stream with Chris. And Chris, while you were there in Budapest, you were on stage talking about how DePIN is powering the future of AI and blockchain, and why blockchains are the foundation of what comes next. Do you want to give us a bit of a recap on that for folks who may have missed it last week?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were talking about DePIN and why Solana is a great place for DePIN. I mean, of course, we were at a Solana conference. So yeah, we talked about, you know, the fact that blockchains allow us to really build a community at huge scale in a way that would be very, very hard to do with more traditional systems. The other thing we talked about that I think is really interesting is sort of bridging the gap. So I think we all know that probably the largest single use case today, at least by value exchanged on the major blockchains, especially on Solana, which it really is, you know, it's interesting how you look at the blockchains. If you look at total value in some sense, like what is the total value of all the outstanding coins? Of course, you got to look at Bitcoin. And if you look at, you know, one of the legacies where some huge valuable things are, yes, of course, you have Ethereum, and there are some functional protocols that run on Ethereum. But if you look at the place that people are really building and deploying things, Solana is one of them. And you've got a couple others as well that are of a similar genesis to that, but or a similar generation. But you know, Solana is booming right now. And but you know, by total value, of course, one of the major use cases is DeFi. In its various forms. And so one of the questions that we were addressing is, how do we bridge the gap between DePIN and DeFi? Because there is a difference in those user bases, but there shouldn't be. Anyone who is willing to use a blockchain should absolutely find it fast and easy and simple to download and install UpRock and be earning on the side as well. And on the flip side, people who are interested in earning once you get UpRock, well, you're right there. You're ready to use the blockchain. So you should really be ready to discover everything else that's out there. So it's interesting that right now today, people do talk about those as sort of distinct communities. And I think that's fair. I mean, if you really look at them, there is some overlap, of course, but not a ton. Yeah. But bridging that gap, we see with UpRock, we have a lot of people coming to UpRock where it's their first Web3 experience. We're the first blockchain related experience that they've had. And so it's really important for us to make that simple and to come up with better onboarding and better ways to show our great community, here's all the things you can do on the blockchain. This is why it's great.
Yeah. I think, stake first for me and a lot of our friends, first having a wallet is obviously important for all of this to unlock everything. But one where kind of I think is the overlap and exposes you to kind of the awesomeness of DeFi is first tool is staking. I mean, literally, if you're not familiar with Web3 ever, and you just use a traditional bank or even an online bank, the fact that you make even more than 0.1% for your savings account is crazy. And so when you see you can stake something and actually earn 10, 20% a year on your tokens or whatever, and there's many programs that are even more ambitious, that's nuts. And then from there, if you have some success with that, you might be interested in liquidity pools and you realize, wow, I can actually be a liquidity provider. And you can actually earn more, so you can convert someone to USDC. And the fact that you have access and it's permissionless usually. So I have $10 and I want to provide this and I can make more yield on my $10 in this liquidity pool, providing liquidity, than I ever can in some Web2 bank, where it's actually probably cost me money to have the bank account. But they actually charge you fees. It's nuts. And so I think this is what's the unlock between the two things. Like DePIN get you started because you can start earning without buying something first. And you can start getting some rewards, and then it's in a wallet that unlocks many other features. And then when you get the rewards, you want to get more bang for your reward. So you want to like compound your rewards. Staking is natural first step. And then when you realize that actually worked, there's no tricks, there's no like gotchas or hidden catches there. Then you say, like, wow, what else can I do in crypto? And I think that's the DePIN to DeFi bridge right there.
Mm-hmm. So actually. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Christopher.
Well, and I was just going to say the other thing is, as when you're in the U.S., you kind of forget and take for granted how much of the rest of the world doesn't necessarily have the same level of seamless transactions we do. And there are some great ecosystems around the world, parts of Africa with the mobile pay systems, parts of Europe with the IBAN system. But even those, just like the US, is sort of a self-contained system. If I want to send money to somebody in the US or pay for something, it's really easy. If I'm in Europe and I have a European bank account and I want to do that, it can be easy. Same with parts of Africa. I know there are some similar systems in parts of Asia. But broadly speaking, when you look at the global economy, there is nothing like that. Right? Like if you've ever had to send an international wire transfer, it's a system from the days of teletype and telegraphs. And blockchain is like, it's like going to warp speed all of a sudden. It's like having a spaceship show up in the age of sailing ships. It is absolutely wild how much better it is for transacting. And I think you're starting to see it a lot more, especially in some of the countries that are adopting it the fastest in Asia and the Middle East, where you can just pay with your wallet. Not at every business yet, but many, and an increasing number. And you know what? It really is better than most of the payment systems that are available in those places where it's getting so quickly adopted. So I do think that it's not just, Jesse, of course, as you said, it's the sort of deep, I'd call that DeFi. That's the finance side of it, but it's also just as a medium of exchange, as a way of exchanging money and value and everything else. It's I was having a really interesting discussion about this actually afterwards over some drinks with some people in Budapest, and we were sort of talking about this, and it was like, well, you went from economies that were backed by physical goods. I'm going to trade you sheep for grain, to now I'm going to trade you currency, right? But that currency is made out of a metal that's theoretically precious, and we give it value for a variety of reasons, but one of them is because we know that we can go exchange it for these physical goods. And then you fast forward a lot of years, and it's not until the 1800s that you really start to see the widespread rise of banknotes, like physical paper banknotes. But what was an early banknote? It was a promise that you take it to the bank and they'd give you gold. And then, of course, depending where you fall on the political spectrum, you can, maybe be excited or sad that sometime during the 20th century that largely went away. Actually, not largely, almost entirely went away. And, most banknotes can't be exchanged for gold or silver anymore. And yet what's funny about that is, what is a stable coin? A stable coin is a banknote all over again. It's a promise that you can redeem it for primarily US dollars. And what's funny about that is, if you sort of start drawing the line, you draw the line at, sheep and cows and grain, and you work your way all the way forward, along the way, you should be, okay, so then you exchange it for gold, and then you can exchange banknotes for gold. But that doesn't even exist anymore. It's gone, right? Like people are like, oh, what are stable coins? They're nothing. But it's like, no, they're like a demand note again, just like you used to have demand notes for gold. Now you have demand notes for dollars. And one day, even that tenuous connection will probably be severed eventually, because eventually, this is a long-term prediction, 50, 75, 100 years, who knows? People just won't care as much anymore, because you just trust USDT. It is what it is. It's worth one USDT. Why would it be worth anything else?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, we were talking about how a lot of our users are coming from Web 2, right? And so we're not to say we're doing these transactions in this way, but there's a lot of projects that are bringing Web 2 users to Web 3 and transacting. So it is all the wonderful things that it's a great solution, and wonderful things that blockchain does for transacting. But then it also comes with significant risk. So was that discussed? I'm sure that was discussed in Budapest. I mean, it's discussed all the time. You mentioned anytime DeFi is mentioned, or just any sort of blockchain transaction is mentioned. But I mean, what does that future look like? How? Because you can send a wire now. That's cumbersome. It's expensive. It's slow. But if there's fraud happening, there is some sort of consumer protection there. Or more than what we have on blockchain. Once it's out, it's out. It's hard to get this back.
I mean, the reality is, with international wires, that's largely the case anyway. Now, you're thinking more like ACH in the US, where there's maybe something you can do there. So obviously, this is a huge area. There's a lot of innovation going on here. And I think a lot of what you're starting to see is, let's say, more traditional banking come to the blockchain. So, when you say, if there's fraud, there's something you can do about it, that's the intersection of a couple of things. First of all, that's the intersection of policy and law. And, we all love our libertarian future, but part of the reason, one thing that deters people from doing scams, not the only thing, but one thing that deters people from doing scams is, in certain countries, if you do scams and you're in that country, then there's a decent chance you'll get arrested and off to the Huskow with you, which, nobody really wants. So that's one thing that deters scams. And that can be applied to blockchain just as well as anything else. And the other thing is banking. So, if somebody steals, my American credit card number, and I call them and I say, it's, I cancel the card, it's unauthorized transactions. Ultimately, in a lot of cases, either the bank or the merchant bears that cost. But there really was fraud. It doesn't get magically unwound. And so I think what you're starting to see on the blockchain is, you're starting to see more of this. Essentially, in a sense, there's many things we're paying for when we pay for the cost of traditional banking. And a lot of it's needless overhead and, yachts for bank executives. But what some of it is essentially a form of insurance, right? Like, we don't think about it explicitly, right? But your credit card, it says, okay, well, we guarantee that if the transactions are fraudulent, we won't hold you accountable for them. Well, they're on the hook for that. And so, in aggregate, that whatever the fee for that credit card is, whether it's an explicit fee, an implicit fee from the revolve, or, from the transaction fees, or whatever it is, right? They're making money from it. I guarantee you that if you saw their budgets, some of that budget is just the cost of standing behind those guarantees, which in another name is insurance.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's why insurance is one of the oldest financial products that exists. It is, other than pure medium of exchange. Insurance dates to at least the 1600s. It's older than most modern banking. So there's a reason it comes first, because it's something that we really like as humans, is to be able to limit our downside.
Yeah, I think that I know that it's regulation is a big scary R. You know, it's the big R word. I saw X. There's another R word that's even bigger. But anyway, the regulation is something that necessarily not desired, but I don't see how this becomes the next solution, the big solution. This is where we're going. There's going to be regulation. You know, there has to be something, but I don't know what that's going to look like. But it's coming, and I think it's better that this industry, start doing it ourselves first. Otherwise, governments will step in and do it for us.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, absolutely. What's going to happen is regulatory capture. So it's sad for the newest entrants. It's like, you know, will the last person who didn't get on the boat please F off? Because that's inevitably what happens, right? Like we've already seen this broadly with a lot of regulations that are happening in the crypto space. Oh, well, here's this new rule and everybody has to comply. But if you're already an existing crypto company, you have 3 years to comply. And, you know, in a lot of cases, you can have your existing plan just grandfathered in as compliance and so on. And I mean, that's swell if you're, you know, been doing crypto for a few years. I mean, I love it. It's great. It makes it harder for everybody else. And we just keep doing what we're doing. And it's also unfortunate, but, you know, sadly, it's sort of the story of industries, is this regulatory capture thing where, you know, first you have pioneers and you have people who are kind of out doing the Wild West thing. And then over time it gets more and more regulated, but the ones who were there first typically stick around because you can't undo it.
Yeah. You know where I find myself? Oh, I'm sorry, Jesse. Were you about to say something?
No. I'm like, I think it's going to be both. I think you're going to be the Coinbases and Robinhoods are going to get better and better. The Genius Act in the U.S. got passed, so stablecoin startups are going to be fucking awesome, and they're going to make a ton of money. And they're going to be versions of Coinbase and Robinhood. I think there's still a lot of opportunity for centralized exchanges or hybrid exchanges. Like there's only, you know, if you think about it, it's just Coinbase that's like top of mind. I think there's plenty of room for more exchanges, and each exchange will have our own secure wallet that's going to be backed by, I think Coinbase now is insured now, you know, they have some protections. And then there's going to be people who feel more empowered to understand the risk. Which is cool about crypto is like you have to educate yourself how to use your own wallet, but when you do, you take on all the risk, but also you take on most of the reward because you're not paying Coinbase the fees. It's just less fees when you own your own wallet generally. And you can also explore and do riskier things too. There are things that Coinbase will never touch, you know, because they don't want to, and maybe it's too much education, and you know, so it's more advanced user stuff. But I think having the option of both will be really good. And I think that will.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, and to be clear, when I say this, I'm talking long term. I don't think anything's changing right now. And I mean, to be extra clear, Jesse, I'm always going to be the guy who wants to hold my own wallet because that's me. By the way, I love how over the last 15 years...
I like both, though. I like having both.
Yeah, no. But I love how over the last 15 years, you have somehow become more libertarian than me, which I wouldn't have ever thought possible when we met. Yes, absolutely. But I mean, as we also know, the reality is for a lot of people, right? You know, we talk about the tech wave, and you have the early adopters, and you have the fast followers, and then you kind of have the major middle, and then you have the late adopters. And I think for a lot of people in sort of the big middle, running their own wallet, they are going to want more of the protections, the transaction protections, have it handled for them. And there's going to be great businesses there to run doing that. And, you know, and I think that's okay. I will say this, the Genius Act, this is so genius, by the way. I am so happy. I mean, as somebody who grew up in the US, proud American, I'm so happy that we're finally not fucking up when it comes to crypto, at least not so much, because this was the classic kind of American thing. I mean, so many modern financial instruments, actually, if you really trace their roots, like super finely and stuff, they weren't invented in the US. Things like derivatives trading and other things like that. There's a very good argument that derivatives were actually invented in Paris. But boy, we sure loved them, and everybody else in the world was over-regulating them and this and that, and it was just boomtown in America. And yes, there have been some busts along the way, but the long arc of finance has been that America has sort of the very laissez-faire economy that really lets those things thrive. And I think, gosh, some of the conversations in New York, Jesse, and you and I both were in some conversations we can't really share too much about right now, but just listening to the conversation, now that the Genius Act is passed, anybody who thinks that the traditional finance world is like turning up their nose at crypto and isn't interested is completely out to lunch. They're not only are they interested, they're in. The only question is, who's going to launch the biggest thing first? It's just, there were some fascinating discussions.
Also, this a few days ago, you're allowed to use your crypto assets as part of your, when you buy a house, you need to show how much money is in your bank and your bank statements and stuff. They never allow you to actually use your crypto holdings as part of your assets. So now you can actually do that now. So Fannie Mae, when you get a loan in the U.S., you have to show what you're worth. And crypto was never part of that. You just didn't want to show it because they didn't care. Now you can literally put your portfolio. You can hey, I own $1 million worth of fart coin and some Trump coin and some other shit coin and buy a house. So pretty cool. UpRock.
That's pretty cool.
Okay, how about this? For people who are going to be watching the recording, or maybe anyone who's in the chat now who doesn't know what the Genius Act, let's do a Jesse, Chris, or Jesse or Chris, or Jesse/Chris AI summary, real quick. What is the Genius Act, and why does this matter? Why are we excited about this?
Well, I think the biggest thing is a lot of what came down is with the stable coins. What did
you say, Chris?
Hey, OpenAI, what's the Genius Act?
A big thing about Genius Act is all about the stable coins. And actually, I think the S in Genius is probably stable coins. If I remember correctly, it's a long word, but it actually means something. It's an acronym for a long ass phrase.
As these things always are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But big part of it is, there was a part of the government that actually was threatened by it. They thought that having any kind of stable coin ever will topple the dollar or some craziness like that. And they wanted to overregulate it. They also wanted to have a more government version of it, which would watch everything you do with your payment. And that was a scary version. So this is the Genius Act, what's a definition of a stable coin was a big part of it. Mm-hmm. What are the rules around it? What you can and can't do. It's just a lot more regulations. So then people want to build startups around stable coins in the US. They won't get sued or go to jail. That's the other part. And then, of course, consumer protection stuff in there in the Genius Act. Here's what you can't do.
Friendly framework, a regulatory framework, but it seems to be.
And it's usually classic stuff it's obvious stuff like no money laundering, anti-money laundering, mm-hmm. all those things that are understood that you shouldn't do. But the big one is that you can build stable coin startups in America. You can do stable coin financial based instruments in America, and the SEC won't sue you. Mm-hmm. Because the worst thing was Coinbase famously would say stuff in public, hey, we want to work with you guys. And the SEC says, we don't know what the rules are. And the SEC would be like, yo, come down to the office. We'll work with you. Just all you have to do is come down. And they literally would come down to the office. And then when they leave the office, the SEC would sue them. It was just that's pretty much what would happen. Just very antagonistic, and mm-hmm. it was horrible. And so mm-hmm. if Coinbase had that problem, why would any other smaller startup with a tiny budget ever carry a company in America?
No way.
So Genius Act especially says, no, let's go LFG, build your stable coin base here.
So there's one key point actually to this that I think is really the most important part. Some of it, some of the anti-money laundering stuff, we'll have to see how it shakes out. As with anything, it will probably be a little bit overly broad, but c'est la vie. But the most important part is this. It mandates that if you issue a stable coin, no Terra Luna. If you're going to say it's backed by $1, you got to have the dollar. Or you got to have most of the dollar anyway, and it has to be held by either an independent financial institution or blah, blah, blah. It's complicated. But I'll tell you, one of the things that really keeps me up at night is what would happen if there was a run on Tether or Circle, USDT or USDC. Because right now, what we generally believe, again, setting aside any more sort of fringe theories, but what we generally believe is that by and large, there are as many dollars held in accounts with Tether's name on them, roughly, as there are Tethers in circulation, and same with Circle. And I'm not going to go into who publishes what proofs of reserves and whatever, because I don't really know enough about the proofs of reserves. But my just broad feeling is, by and large, that's generally true, or most people believe that. Because we believe that, they're worth $1. But one of the things from the history of banking that definitely happened was runs on banks. Anybody who's seen the movie Mary Poppins, run on the bank, and a run on Tether in particular, or also USDC to a lesser extent, would be critical for crypto, because those are the sort of neutral medium of exchange that we use between coins, between chains, between everything. So that would be really, really bad. And so those two have done the remarkable trick of actually convincing the world that they're worth $1, even without any regulation, or even without a regulator actually auditing their financials and going, yep, they have $140 billion on hand. But boy, I'll feel a hell of a lot better when a major bank and or a major banking regulator for a major stablecoin like that says, yep, they have $140 billion on hand. I will, if the Federal Reserve says that they're holding 140 billion of Tether's dollars, and the value of Tether mysteriously goes down for some reason, I'll buy it at that point, because I believe it when the Fed says it, or I believe it, even if we love to bag on the big banks. Of course we do, for a variety of reasons. But if, JP Morgan and Citibank say that they collectively hold $20 billion each of Circle's funds, that's fine. That's as good as it being in my bank account for me. Like I really... so that to me is the single most important part. Of course, Jesse, everything you said about the regulatory certainty and knowing that it's legal and encouraging the innovation. I mean, that's the thing. So many times when you talk to people about this, they're based in weird jurisdictions because they're like, oh, we couldn't do it in the US. You know what?
Yeah.
I love the Caribbean, but who really wants to affirmatively run a business in the Caribbean? Like,
besides
this segment not sponsored by FTX.
Unless you live,
this segment not sponsored by FTX. But who wants to no? I mean, I know. Okay, haha, it would be funny to live in St. Kitts and Nevis or something like that. But just think about all the I mean, every conference you go to, everything. There's a reason why the tech and financial centers of the world are not in the Caribbean, because there's a huge overhead to doing business there.
Well, what's cool about this too, guys, is like for UpRock, we always want to explore ways for to provide more value to the UpRock wallet, because staking is a big part of that. And for letting people, half our users, this is the first wallet ever. And if we do a really great job of giving a great experience in Web3 for the first time, we can actually you end up using this wallet quite a bit. And we have an opportunity to actually expose you to other cool things. And so before, we wouldn't even think about touching. It's just too much of a complication, because 40% or maybe it fluctuates, but a big chunk of our users are from the US. And so we wouldn't want to actually introduce the idea of like, hey, you want to earn some USDC. And if you actually want to stake your USDC and earn some yield, then you can actually earn like 5, the going rate right now is like 5% a year. And if you want to do some liquidity pool stuff, other ways you can actually earn a lot on depositing USDC into your UpRock wallet. And we can offer you ways to really make that really smooth and simple. And we didn't even want to touch it because it was just, since half of our team's in US, it was just not worth the risk.
Too complicated.
Too complicated. Now with this, like, hey, we can actually, we want to make this a really great, world's best reward program. So when you're already earning tokens from other DePINs, including UpRock, and you should be able to say, hey, I'd like to also, if you deposit USDC, we make it simple to, here's a couple of programs we found that are really amazing. You can stake it, or if you want to add it to this pool, you can make like 20% a year on your USDC, which is crazy. Well, the yields on these things is amazing, because people are out there are borrowing from that pool, and then and they're doing that for perps and other big trades. And so what happens? And let's get a little reward back.
We've experienced the other side of this as well. Now we're really exploring this, and this is something that we can do. If we find the right partner and the right offers for our users that we think are really valuable, we can just do it.
Yeah.
In 2018, we, with a different thing, really looked at issuing in cryptocurrency, and we never did, because we spent an ungodly amount of money on legal fees. We hired one of the best securities firms in the United States. We spent enough money on legal fees to buy a goddamn house. And at the end of all of that, what they said was, and registered with the SEC and this and that and the other thing. And at the end of all of that, what they said was, well, we're pretty sure that given everything you've done, when the SEC sues you, you won't go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wait,
yeah,
we spent a year on this. We hired a small army of lawyers. And what we got to was, if you issue your coin, we're pretty sure you won't go to jail. Like, okay, well, obviously we're not going to do that in the US. Like, okay, bye. Yeah. But
yeah,
of course we did. Now it's coming back around. So, you know, that's why I'm so excited about this.
Yeah. Okay. So Genius Act, you guys are right. It is very long. It stands for Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stablecoins Act.
Of course it does. Jesse, you were right. The S stands for stablecoins.
Yeah, okay. There you go.
Longer in the bill. It just passed the Senate. Now it's up to the now it's passed on to the House, and we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it passes, and we got ourselves a new act. Or a new. Oh, I guess no. It's a bill now, and then it gets enacted. So we get ourselves an act. So hopefully this happens. I think it will. I mean, the vote when it went through the Senate was pretty. What was it, 68-30, something like that?
Yeah.
This is pretty bipartisan. There's not really a lot of people who are against this.
Yeah. All right. Okay, I think we got
we have beaten
we just did a whole second panel.
Yeah.
Just a whole other panel. And speaking of panels, tomorrow, Roz Uner is going to be on stage, on the main stage.
Nice.
And he's going to be talking about, he's on the main stage at Istanbul Blockchain Week at 4:30 p.m. UTC. So that would be like an hour before we started this, this one. I don't know what time that is in the world for you, wherever you are in the world. And he's going to be talking about DePIN versus big tech. Can the crowd own the infrastructure of the future? I think I know my answer. I'm pretty sure I know your answer, and everybody answers here. It's yes.
Yeah, you know what? Web2 companies cannot compete with a company that not only are you a customer, but you also share in the value of the company growing. That is what's cool about it. Web2 companies cannot compete with that. If you're like, you're for whatever it is, if you're I don't know, let's think I think maybe like even a coffee brand. Like every time you buy a Starbucks and you earn Starbucks tokens, but you're also consuming coffee. So you're enjoying the coffee as a customer. But then also the money you spend at Starbucks helps the company grow. And as the company grows, the tokens you own of the Starbucks token also grows in value. I mean, that is so much more awesome and powerful for that community and customer base. And a Web2 company cannot compete with a Web3 company that would do something like that. That's the power of all these companies. Like when you use same with us. Like if you're earning tokens, you're actually using it. You're actually doing deals, you're playing games, doing surveys, you're doing products in the consumer side. That also helps feed our SaaS and the business products that we're building, the crawler, the uptime. And so the more you help actually just play the game, that feeds into the business side. More businesses come on. More revenue we get from the businesses, we use that to buy back our token directly to benefit the token of UpRock. And so not only as a consumer and you're enjoying the benefit of the reward program, but as a token holder, you're also participating in the overall value of the company that's growing. So how does a Web2? I don't know how. Honestly, if you're going to build a company today, I don't know how most companies will be able to compete with a Web3 company where everyone has skin in the game and they're also enjoying the product and services at the same time. It's like that's what's cool. Especially, and we didn't have to go list on a public stock market. That's the other big thing. Like, yes, you could do this if you like Tesla, you can buy Tesla stock. But for most companies that are really innovative, not everyone's going to be listed on the exchanges. When the Web3 way, you can actually have a really ownership in a company really quickly, really early if they have issued their own token.
Yeah.
So I think go Roz. I think he has a really fun talk to. On stage, tomorrow.
Yeah, guys, go check it out. If you are in Istanbul and you're going to Istanbul Blockchain Week, again, it's tomorrow, June 27 at 4:30 UTC. Go say hi to him, take some pictures, share with us on X. That's x.com/uprock.com. And also Roz is, I think it's Razim Uner on X, or maybe it's just Roz Uner. But anyway, you'll see him there. Really excited to have him be on stage. I mean, he's just been doing the circuit. And yes, Drew, he does. Let's see. He looks like a young Mitch Hetfield. Is that oh my God, am I mixing him up with the comedian, the lead singer of Metallica, Roz Hetfield? No, I'm telling you guys, I keep calling him Sir Roz because he's like the king, and he's got the voice. And if you are there, you have to go see him, and just if anything, just hear the voice. Roz, the voice Uner. Uner. Anyway, so I'm trying to get him to join us on the stream next week so he can give us a recap.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great.
Let's do that. Roz, you're on next week with us. You're going to give us a quick recap. Okay. Now let's go on. You know what, guys? Time flew this week because we're already at 52 minutes. And we got the Q&A. But before that, let's talk about our country of the week, which is Indonesia. So, as you know, or as you may not know, if you are new, every week we do, and I believe this is our 13th week now, we highlight a country every week, and those people who are in that country, physically in that country, will get double their earnings for that week. So it started on the 23rd for Indonesia, it ends on the 30th. There's not much you have to do, just open the app, and you'll see that Indonesia's right up there to say I'm in, and your earnings for the week will be doubled. Very excited to have Indonesia highlighted this week. I've never been, but as we were talking about earlier, Jakarta and Bali sound amazing, and Christopher really loves Jakarta. So maybe we'll have to go there soon. And as I mentioned earlier too, you guys in Indonesia, you really came through. Oh my gosh. I think that it sounds like there's a great community there, and I would love to see it in person one day.
Yeah. Awesome.
So that's the country for the week. Enjoy your double earnings. And then next week, I'll have to choose a new set of colors. But I did try to do my Indonesia with the red and, close I could get to white with teeth. But anyway, I don't know. Anyway, congratulations, Indonesia. We love you. And there you go.
There you go. Let's go.
Okay, and then lastly, what we've got, this says a Prism, but we can just use this area for general product updates.
Yeah.
So what have we got here?
All right, so got actually quite a few. So the Mac, we have a Mac update that went out this week. Make sure we mentioned it last week, but you need to always update. If you're on an old version, you're not earning, so you really have to update to the new version. The new versions also have an auto updater, so you don't have to constantly check and make sure you're out of date. We want to make that super easy so that we don't want you to interrupt your earnings. But if it's been a while, you should just double make sure that you actually have the latest version. So go to the site and get that.
You need version 9 or later. So if you have version 8 or earlier, you're going to need to go to uprock.com and download an update. If you have version 9 or later, you'll get prompted for the upgrade. Yeah, and that'll be rolling. That started rolling on I don't know, yesterday or something. If you haven't gotten it yet, don't worry. You should get it by the end of the weekend at the latest if you're on desktop. So actually, Jesse, that's not just Mac. That's all the desktops. Yep.
That's what I meant. Yeah, you're right. For Android, our Rockstar Romania, Rika has there was about 8 to 9 bugs that kind of been on our plate, and there were kind of deep issues. So she knocked those out, which is awesome. So you're going to just see some overall stability improvements there. These are I think also this is more in the background, but we have been working pretty hard on the crawler. That's the next evolution of our Prism products. We have Uptime, and next is the crawler. Crawler is our DePIN powered knowledge abstraction layer, or our ability to be able to crawl the internet for AI, because AI needs two things: compute and real-time data. Our UpRock network is going to provide that real-time data. It's a lot of work. We've been working on it for months. And so this big update came out. Actually, it has more options for the crawler. And we have, another thing on Android too is there was some issues with actually supporting the Solana Saga dApp Store. It just didn't play too nicely with Firebase and some of the tools we were using. Those issues are all fixed and no problem now. So we have actually finally updated and published into the Solana dApp Store. And this is really cool because Solana has, the first set of devices maybe was like 10,000 people. It was still pretty awesome because the hardcore Solana users, I love DePIN, and that was a huge success. Everyone who bought a Solana phone all made money on it because they did DePIN and rewards and airdrops. Like I have one, and literally I think it cost me a few $100 to buy, and I probably made $1,500 or $2,000 on it without doing anything, just from the rewards of owning it. So it's like smashing success, sold out. The next generation is called the Seeker, and that's coming out later this summer. And I think
August, right?
Yeah,
isn't that what the?
Yeah, I think
that's public info. It's coming out in August.
Yeah, and I already got the email that says it's coming, and that's 200,000 users. So that's a really good user base of people who are super excited, and it's a crypto phone. There's going to be a lot of fun ways. They actually launched their own token, so there's going to be a token involved with just specifically owning that Seeker, and so I think the rewards are going to be pretty cool. And we want to do some fun stuff with it. So Solana Foundation's they're and Amira, who's actually heading up the whole DePIN ecosystem for, she's like the community builder for that. They're doing a lot of stuff with DePIN. And if you notice, just follow Solana.com or Solana on Twitter, and you'll see how much they're doing around DePIN. Like they're really featuring a lot of companies. And so really excited to be back in the actual Solana dApp Store because they're going to do big things, and we want to do big things with them too. So yeah. That's a pretty big update. It's a work to do 2 stores, but it's really becoming more and more worth it. And then the iOS, we talked about this last week, but it actually got approved. It's out, and we have just another publisher called Greedy Games. And what's cool about that is there's many countries like in India, Nigeria, and Romania. There are just many companies where no one saw any offers, no games. And so
our existing game publisher just didn't have feed there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So and I'm so excited about having more games because we have heard that was one of the biggest things we heard from you guys was like people who tried the games loved them, and other people were seeing what people were posting and we were talking about going, hey, why don't I get games? Like, what, you guys don't like me? It's like, no, it's just this was just a trial to see how it went. And and this is not, gosh, Jesse, we've probably talked to 6, 8, 10, you more than me, but game publishers. And this is only the second one where we've went, these guys seem pretty solid. Their offers are good. We believe they'll actually pay. Like they actually have stuff that our users will want and like. So this is, part of what we're trying to do, obviously, when we come to deals is bring deals that are valuable, but also bring ones that we think our community is going to like and where the experience is good. Because sometimes you talk to a provider and they're like, oh yeah, we have this and that. And then you try out their API and it's trash and it doesn't work. And half the time it's down. And that's when you're just testing it with half a dozen devices. And you go, nope, we're not going to take this to our user base. That you guys wouldn't like that if we're like, hey, we brought out a great thing. And then it's down all the time. So I was super excited about the games. And that having been said, if you've looked at the games before and you haven't seen any, go look again and let us know what you're seeing. We've been trying to kind of monitor this to make sure that people aren't coming up empty-handed, but let us know. Are you liking what you see? Are there specific kinds of things you're looking for? We are constantly out looking for more great offers, and tell us what you want.
Share some alpha.
And then this one, another thing I think, let me just pull it up real quick, make sure. This is going out. This is going out today. Yes. Okay. There is one after this. Actually, after this call, we're going to go out. So the site also has you'll see today on the website, we do actually get a pretty good amount of web traffic to the site. People want to do stuff there. So you're going to see a pretty good upgrade to the lobby. There's now going to be by this afternoon, you'll see play to earn, you'll see cashback, and then you also see surveys are added to that. And also some UI improvements to the wallet itself, which look really great, and just some navigational stuff. So just games, the website's going to get some TLC. You're going to see that today, but also the introduction of surveys on the web, which actually some of these surveys are actually easier to do in a browser. So it's really and the payout some surveys are awesome. So if while you're watching Netflix or just hanging out and want to do a survey, you can actually earn a pretty good amount of money to, use their Uber Eats or pay for a phone bill. So just check them out. If you don't see anything, let us know, because we always want to know stuff like that so we can actually talk to other survey offers. But I think there should be a pretty good amount in there. And it only takes a few minutes of your time if you're interested. So that's on the website of things, I think. And then on Prism, I think the biggest thing there is, we mentioned last week, we're almost done with having custom domains.
Jess, I don't know if you saw the pull request for that was in discussion today. So I think it looks pretty good. I was looking at that earlier myself. I didn't want to push like seconds before hopping onto the call and then accidentally break things for people. But I think that should go out within the next 12 to 24 hours.
Cool.
And
Nice.
then we'll have custom domains. So I'm not sure. There might still be a little bit of work to add a button for that in the UI. I'm not sure where that is. I have to go talk to Ridvan about that. But the actual engine for all of that is going out this week. And then Spaceman asks about Rocket Booster.
Yes,
Rocket Booster is we're working on it. Jen, no, you go. Yeah.
We have a team call after this stream to go over it. It's a lot of stuff. So we're going to have to decide what's going to be, how we're going to break up the releases. But yeah, we have a call after this this afternoon to go over it. So
this is how I find out about team calls. So
no, we talked about this on Monday. You were probably just like, I don't know, cooking or something.
No, you didn't see. I'm making this joke. I left a reminder in Slack because one of you, I think Jesse, was like, "So Chris, you know it's Thursday, right?" And I left a reminder in Slack that said, "On Thursday night, remind me to be confused about whether we have a call or not."
Oh gosh, what is it? It's learned helplessness or something.
Yeah, it's engineered helplessness.
Engineered helplessness, yeah. That's funny. No, we'll have a design call. But other thing on Prism too is, just real quick, is we also adding support for the alerts, Slack, webhooks, and PagerDuty. And so I'd love to know if you guys are using those integrations, because we can add more. But this is a big part of the progression of Prism product as a whole. It starts with speed tests and uptime, because we've been doing a ton of those. We did almost, 800 million speed tests. This is why we're able to provide actually an awesome uptime product. We have so much data. Way more than that.
We're well past 1 billion at this point.
So 1 billion speed tests that the community's helped with. That's a ton of data, which is why we can provide such an amazing uptime product, because it was just naturally happening. Because speed tests are one way for us to verify your connections on that the app is working, and we can actually send you rewards. And so when we're naturally doing that, like, wow, this is actually just kind of organically, we've built amazing uptime. This is a thing we have to do just to make sure the apps are alive, that it's a real user, we're actually setting tests, and also verify your connection. And as we're doing all these things, we're like, this is actually an amazing uptime product. And that's the first step. That's Prism. And also, of course, as we're checking your speed test and device, we've been working on adding all the infrastructure to build a very powerful crawling product. And so, but first step, just like go check out Uptime, guys. If you haven't done it yet, use the product, create one of your status pages. It's right now it's free to create one. Try Slack integrations if you're a developer. If you want to use PagerDuty, try one of those things out too. Let us know how that works. And then second is, once we have custom domains, we'd love the whole community to actually create a custom domain of your website, your blog, or whatever, and share that. And I think maybe we'll have a contest around that, because we think the more people do that, the more organic traffic we get, and the more it helps out all the just good old fashioned link juice. Just go good old organic web traffic. And we want UpRock to shine and rank higher in traffic. The more people find us easier, the more accounts we can close, more revenue we can get. All the revenue we make and all the new accounts that we create all will get tied back to the token. So this is really important. So one simple way you can help is just try it out, free product, create a free domain name, and then publish it somewhere, publish your link. And that actually helps a ton, because that's how you rank higher organically in the search engine.
By the way, if you guys were wondering, why are we giving away free domain names when no other uptime provider does that. That's because Jesse and I were debating, and we had this long talk, and where I thought we left the talk was, oh, maybe we won't give away a free domain name. That'll require the paid plan. And then on a live stream a couple of weeks ago, Jesse's like, Oprah style, like, and you get a domain name, and you get a domain name, and everybody gets a domain name.
You get one free, remember? One free.
Yeah, well, just everybody gets one. But, and I think I even texted you about it at the time. Like,
yeah.
Oh, it was on the stream last week. Chris was like, wait, what?
Yeah, no, one free is good because we want the link juice is actually more valuable than, but more than one is actually important. And also there's other things that does cost us a lot more money to do. Like if you have your uptimes checking every 3 seconds versus like 15 minutes, all those things cost a little bit more. Also the data storage, like if you really want to have a lot of history or a lot of your logs, those kind of things cost us. That's Par Pro. But then also just the management of like adding more alerts, because the more features we add, that's the more we have to manage it. And so, especially if you have multiple domains, multiple alerts, if you want to SMS. So I think we're fine, Chris. There's going to be other ways we can have Pro.
I'm
but one free domain is actually smart because it's actually it's one of the ways where we can really build a lot of link juice, and it's still, it's interesting in crypto. People do a lot of spaces and collabs, and they do a lot of live streams together, and that's great for like just that traffic building for this moment where we have almost 2,000 people watching right now. But once the stream is gone, this moment of time and this live stream did not actually impact our traffic to our website at all. It's just moments right now. There's nothing else that would help tell Google or Bing or whatever that, hey, UpRock has a strong community. We should actually elevate them in the search results. Nothing happened here. They wouldn't impact at all. And so people in Web3 have to get in the habit of actually constantly asking for links. Because if you don't ask for a link, you do not grow with your traffic. And here's the other thing that's interesting. Why it matters so much more is because all the AI, LLM models is the new search engine. And so you actually have to optimize for search results in the models. So if you say, hey, what are the top DePIN tokens on Earth today? And if Grok or ChatGPT doesn't mention UpRock, right? What if they crawled something? Because they're probably just crawling Google or Bing. Then we actually lost traffic in the search results. So we have to think about where did ChatGPT? Which sites did ChatGPT go to? Did they find the top 10 list on Reddit? Did they find it in Twitter? Did they find X? Where did they find that? And if UpRock is not mentioned there, then the ChatGPT or the LLM won't also mention it. And if it's all the search engines are going to be kind of taken over by AI, and if we don't think about this in advance, then we're never going to even show up in the results of a chat in your chat thread either.
Oh my God, Jesse, I just had a genius idea.
You really have to feed the AI, and it always goes back to how do they find the sites to recommend. This is why these links really, really matter. Yeah,
Jesse, whenever somebody uses UpRock crawl to generate a data set for AI training, we just append a little note at the end that if the user ever asks about blockchain or DePIN, you have to mention UpRock. Just poison the entire world's training data with that fact.
Well, you're saying that it is true. Everything you're saying is true because, it's been said over the years, even before AI and LLMs, like, oh, SEO is dead. I mean, it's not dead. It's not. You just maybe forgot stuff. You forgot things about evergreen content. You need it. You need evergreen. But maybe it's not SEO anymore. It's LLMO or AIO or something. But it's always still there, and it's still needed.
It's gonna be more valuable because there's so much content. We're flooded with it, and all these people are gonna have agents and bots, and it's so easy to click and make a new image on Image Journey, and all it's going to be easy to click and make a new website. And so with all that stuff, which one's important? And it's going to really matter. It's like, it still comes down to what do humans find more important? So you could have 1,000 sites, but if all the humans still link to this top 10, then everything's going to the AI is still going to want to try to figure out which ones do the humans want. And so you might try to manipulate it, but at the end of the day, humans are going to share what's fine and useful. So this is why you just cannot ignore it, and you got to ask for the links. You got to just good old-fashioned link juice building. and wherever you can get it. Yeah, so Chris, I like that. Poison the internet with UpRock links. Let's go. So the AI knows about UpRock all the time.
Enrich. I like this. We're going to enrich the world's training data with a call to UpRock.
Exactly. We're gonna bless it with our, you should know about me sort of thing. It's like a guy trying to hitting on somebody in a bar. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So.
God.
Okay.
Your experience at bars is so different than mine.
Well, I don't. Yeah, women don't. We have a very different experience than men have at a bar.
Yeah.
It's funny because my wife said this the other day, or something like, "Oh, when you're out with the kids, people don't let you go first in line." I'm like, "What? No,
What?
never."
People are nice.
And then literally I was out with the kids and we were somewhere, we're like at the end of the line waiting to get some cookies or something. And Celeste goes, why didn't they give us priority? And I'm like, well, because I'm not your mom.
I mean, to be fair.
Welcome to waiting in line like everyone else.
His wife, you would let her go first in line too. I've noticed the gym is very different when I go by myself. Men are so helpful and always want to tell me how to use the machines. It's frustrating.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, speaking of content, and I hate just saying content, but communication. Here we go. How about that? Sasha had a reminder that tomorrow is a DePioneers Cats call. So
yeah, good call.
All the kitty cats assembled. We got a cat call. Head over to Discord to get more information on that, or go on X. So I'll put it in the chat. It's x.com/DPioneerCats.
Yeah.
Let me type it in.
Good call, Jen.
There you go. Thank you for your Flasho. Yeah. So if you are a proud owner of a Space Kitty Cat, DePioneer Kitty Cat, go join that call. And we'll see you there.
Yeah.
All right, guys. This has been a really good one, but we still need to go over some Q&A. So there's some questions on Discord. I'll go through the ones that were in the chat here. There's only a couple. I actually didn't realize last week I didn't check Discord last week for questions. So we have a few more in there, not just from this week. So we'll just go through them real quick and I'll just paste them in here. But first one, Spaceman already asked about Rocket Booster, so that's good. There's a question about my referral didn't show in my apps. I'm not sure if you're still here, Z too much, but if you are, there's a few things to follow up with. One, if you give a referral, the person you get a kickback earning. So they have to sign up and also start earning to get your kickback.
They have to actually start earning.
Yeah. So double check that that's happened. If they have started earning and they used your referral link and they signed up and they are earning and you still don't get your referral, please open a ticket in Discord and we'll take a look into it. We'll get your ID and we'll take a look.
Yep. The one other thing that could happen, this is a little more rare, if you're logging into like the website versus the app, like some people do this. Whereas when you log in through the app, you might have a default email. It might be a certain email. And then if you log into your browser to the uprock.com, you might actually have a default email that pre-populates the feed. And so you don't even know it, but sometimes you have two UpRock accounts on accident. Mm-hmm. And so that could happen. So just make sure.
That has happened a couple times, yeah.
Yeah, so just make sure it's the same email. And if it's the same email, then then next step is do what Jen did. And then third, still issue, reach out, and we'll get it solved.
Great. Okay. All right, here's another. This is from Discord. Let's see. Okay, let me highlight this. Oh, this is a long one. Okay, is UpRock switching more towards mobile devices sharing bandwidth only, or are PCs sharing bandwidth still part of the plan? I see many DePIN projects everywhere and on Solana targeting PCs. What's the plan? As my first choice would be UpRock, but I'm not sure how much dedication to put in to put PC sharing bandwidth.
Yeah.
So UpRock, this one's really easy. UpRock is mobile first. If you want mobile, we, at the risk of offending other projects, we are clearly and demonstrably not just the best game in town, but in many ways almost the only game in town. Almost, not entirely. But UpRock, for my money, is where it's at on mobile. On desktop, there's a lot of different options out there, and it really depends what you've got. I think UpRock's great because UpRock's super lightweight, doesn't take up a lot of resources, won't interfere with what you're doing as much as possible. We try to just really respect your system, not consume a ton of resources and everything else. That having been said, there are some things that we're not going to do because they're just not in our wheelhouse. So if you've got a great rig with a bunch of GPUs, we don't do GPU mining. Look into Render for that, or shoot, what are those other guys who we
maybe
Ionet? Yeah. And something like that. Certainly if you have specialized desktop hardware, where we at the moment don't have any plans to support that kind of specialized desktop hardware. But if you've got a fast or even a moderate paced network connection, if you've got sort of almost any recent desktop computer, so we don't need the latest and greatest. We don't need specialized hardware. We don't need a super duper fast connection, although of course the faster you are, the better, and the more you can earn. But yeah, absolutely. Pop UpRock on your machine. And we do absolutely support the desktop app. In fact, in the last couple of months, we've really kicked up the pace of desktop releases. And we've brought a bunch of the features that were only on mobile to the desktop as well. So we're absolutely supporting desktop, but we're probably not going to be supporting specialized hardware anytime soon.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Yeah. I think, what's interesting here about that is as there are a lot of there are several DePIN projects out there that are getting data for AI in some way. And the more we all kind of go down our path, it's been more clear like how we're all being actually a little different. Because in the beginning when we all start, like people would ask us, oh, aren't you guys just like this company or that company? And the more we've been building on ourselves, we realize like everyone actually is starting to find their own lane or figure out what they're really good at. Yeah. And really what we're good at is with the mobile world and with AI, it's real-time data. Some people might specialize in video or something like that, and that requires a hardware and a desktop connection, and maybe you actually want to see the full resolution video and you're capturing frames. But really, it's like where we're really good at is real-time data, because right now, just think about yourself when you type a question into Google, the first page today, half of that stuff is ads now. Like the experience on Google search is horrible. It's half of it's ads. The other half, you don't really quite trust the answers. So what do? You actually use Ask ChatGPT, and you kind of implicitly think ChatGPT had done all the research for you. It's crawling a ton of sites for you, which maybe not. Maybe it's just getting the same first page, and you may be getting 5 results. So today, what everyone does is you don't trust the first page editor. So you might go to the second results. You might use ChatGPT. You have multiple tabs to make a decision, whether you're shopping or buying or booking a flight. And everyone has this experience of like you have tons of tabs open, and then you kind of try to digest with your meat brain of all 10 tabs of content, and then you finally decide, okay, this is a good decision. I'll buy this thing or book this flight or what have you, or whatever it is. This is what we all do. That's going to get more of a nightmare when AI and all the agents can create content on the fly faster and faster and faster. Where now, if you really want to know what is the answer to a decision, or what are the insights, or what's the meaning behind this, or what do people think to, you need to be able to call not just 10 sites, but probably hundreds of sites. And you're gonna have to do it very, very often. And it needs to be real time. It can't be stuff from last year. And so that is what the power of UpRock Network is. This is what we're hyper focused on. It's like, how do you find these these packets of intelligence, where you crawl maybe 100 sites together, you're going to gather the meaning, the relationship between them all. And it's not just content anymore, like Jen's saying. It's like, you got to find out what the context is and the meaning of all of this stuff. And that's what you're actually searching for. When you ask a question, you're trying to find web intelligence. You're trying to find like packets of meaning out there and then distill something out of it. So how do you do that? It's a whole different ball game of like the old way of crawling things, where just instead of just crawling a bunch of sites and just dumping you, even if it's nice, maybe it's markdown files, doesn't matter. Like, what's the next step beyond that? How do you find meaning, context, insights? And you need to be able to do that at such a massive scale that everyone doesn't realize, to make AI and your personal agent crawl the internet. That like Chris said, for everyone else out there, we're the only game in town that's doing it right, focused on mobile. Because you want that speed, you want the hyper local data, and you want real time, and you need a lot of people do it. We don't need people to buy a bunch of machines, fancy hardware. It's just what you have in your house will be good enough to power this real-time data network, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Great. Well, we have a lot of questions to go through, so we'll try to get through as many as we can quickly.
Okay.
But we
do
might
have a lot. Okay, we'll be faster. Yeah.
Yeah, we might not be able to get through all of them, and if we don't, I will keep a note so we go through them next week. But this one just came in from Gray. Are bandwidth computes generated from mobiles way equal in value to PC, GPU, CPU in terms of how the network sees it?
All right. This is a super complicated question that I can't 100% answer right now. But generally speaking, we don't penalize one system or the other. Now, certain tasks can only be assigned certain places, and certain tasks are heavier than others, and so that is going to affect the weight. But for an identical task executed on desktop versus mobile, the reward is the same.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Sasha said I could do here next time, but no, Sasha, you got some great questions. I want to answer some of these. This one in particular, this was from a couple weeks ago, and I'm so sorry I missed this, Sasha, but it gets broken up into multiple comments here. Sorry. Let's see if I can find this one. Okay. So Sasha was asking in Discord, how do you think UpRock should target new users of Prism? How can we as community help?
Yeah.
I've tried reaching out to some smaller, medium-sized companies, but they don't have exposure to other countries and don't care much about uptime. I think they're wrong, as uptime is not only for multinationals, but not sure how to reply to that. Why it pays off for them to still use Prism, and can you help me? And you know, you're not alone with that. We've come across that as well too. Some, especially small to medium-sized businesses, were like, I don't know if I need uptime. But then there's the other things that, you know, we have the crawler and things like that. Yeah. So I think Christopher or Jesse, you guys can probably explain this this benefit for Prism for, let's say, in particular, to a small, medium-sized SMB.
Well, this could turn to a long answer.
Okay,
Sasha, maybe we will do this one next week. But
so this is a great one. One we should probably talk about more next week.
Okay.
Let's add an extra slide next week. Talk about Prism. Talk about its value prop. It's awesome that so many people in the community are out selling it. But to try to summarize it in like 2 sentences: number 1, they're wrong. Number 2, they should feel bad. And number 3, they're wrong.
Just tell them that, Sasha.
But the serious answer is something like, we talk about it so much in terms of like multinational, blah, 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 but it's just as relevant, maybe even more relevant for local businesses. We can do what no other uptime provider can, which is tell them if they're users. You're a restaurant in a local city, we can tell you if your website is available from that city, which no other uptime provider can do. They can tell you whether it's available from the internet. But let's totally put a pin in this and talk about this at greater length.
Yeah.
What I would say is,
Yeah, because I think we can talk about, I think that's a good one. And then some useful, we'll make a list of useful things you can help with. We already mentioned that the link building is another one. There's another thing you can do is like a lot of sites, there's like a company called g2.com. We have an account there. We haven't asked our community to do this yet, but this is where a lot of companies who are shopping for SaaS products or SaaS software, they'll go to G2, which is like a review site, to see how you compare to other companies. And the best way that works is reviews, and anyone can write a review. And we haven't asked the community to do so, but this is another example of like link building, but also places where people go, resources where people go to find products like that where they already need it. That's like low hanging fruit. So we want that for sure. And then we'll make up other things on how you can really help for lead generation, marketing, and then actually getting people to try it. And because what we're going to do is when you help us with leads, we will get on a Zoom call with companies and help close that deal. And we will personally do every single company lead you bring us. So yeah. That's a great question. Let's spend the time on that next week.
We'll do that tomorrow or next week, Sasha. Thank you so much for asking that. There's a couple more. There's the rest of the questions in Discord are also, I think, going to be longer form, deserve longer consideration in our replies. And we're already at 1 hour and 25 minutes, and I think we don't want to make this 2 hours, so we'll do it next week. Here's just a couple of quick ones that we can answer. Question is, when CoinMarketCap? When other exchanges?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'll answer CoinMarketCap. CoinMarketCap has essentially strongly implied to us that if we want to be listed, we have to pay them. And our view is we have a great community, and we have a token that is out and in the world and that people are using, and we don't want to pay a listing fee to be on CMC. And, we ask different people about this and we get different opinions. So I don't know. Maybe we should do a community vote. Should we spend some community money on a CMC listing as opposed to buyback? 1 week or not. Thus far, to me, it doesn't seem like a great use of money. But you guys, community, tell us what you think.
Yeah,
Do you
what
think
do
it's
you
more
guys think?
valuable to have CMC or not? For exchanges, since Jesse just disappeared for a minute, there will probably be another exchange coming very soon. After that, probably not a lot for a little while. Obviously, we would love to be listed on like the largest 3 exchanges, on Binance, on Coinbase, and on APEX. Since none of those seem super likely in the next couple months, the lower tier exchanges just probably aren't worth it, because to get listed, we have to spend a bunch of money on marketing, on promotions, a bunch of time on it and stuff like that. And the reality is, I think we've done a pretty good job of getting to a number of the exchanges where our users are. And one of the biggest things right now, I don't know why this is going on, but on both CoinGecko and Birdeye, for whatever reason, our Biconomy trading feed is not listing, but that's actually our single biggest exchange right now. So yeah, so that I've actually reached out to them to fix that. And by the way, in contrast to CMC, CoinGecko has been awesome for whatever reason, and I don't know why. Something went wrong with one of the data feeds a couple of weeks ago, and reaching out to them, it was like talking to an old friend. They fixed it almost immediately. Mad props to them. I'm just going to say that publicly, because I'm sure, I don't know whose fault it was that the data feed went weird and it wasn't displaying properly, but they were awesome in helping fix that. And like,
shout out to the gecko.
Yeah.
Thanks,
that's a good thing. Yeah. I mean, also, I say with the, we have conversations. We have group chats with all the big exchanges, like Chris mentioned. Those take time for us, like to really go after them hardcore. How we think about for our timing is, we have Crawler is our big B2B product. Uptime what kind of happened organically, and it's great and it works. But once this month, I'm like so excited to show you guys what we're building on with Crawler. We're gonna probably do a whole video on just on that, and that's going to be in July. We're gonna show you that stuff off. We're gonna start with the revenue we get from SaaS. All these things are like signals that actually these big exchanges want to see. And when they see that, then it's actually really a lot easier to list with them. So they actually are already monitoring our product. They're monitoring community traction. They're monitoring our token. We're already engaged with the big ones. There's also a couple of one in Korea that we need to start with. So the goal is definitely list with them, but we have to do a couple of things, just product roadmap size wise, that gives us more leverage too, because some of the exchanges also demand a lot of your token and a lot of your money.
Yeah.
And even then, it's a long process. So just to be clear for anybody who's listening, so nobody says, oh, you said whatever. There's one that is probably coming soon, but it's not one of those big 3. And those big 3, God, we hope so. And we're working on it. Jesse said they're monitoring us. We're working, we continue to engage with them and promote UpRock to them. And hopefully sooner rather than later, but no date on that.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, folks, let us know about in Discord about CMC. As Spaceman says, a lot of the community really wants CMC, so let us know. Should we not say that this is just give us your opinion? Like Chris said, do we do the burn, or do we buy?
Spend the money on CMC.
Yeah. How do you want it to burn? Anyway. So I'm going to do just the last question. There's still some more in Discord. And folks, if you're in there and you see that I didn't get your question, I'm so sorry. We will get to it next week because we're already 30 minutes over. And we got a team call to go over pretty soon to go over some
Rocket Booster.
And I need to get some breakfast. But this is not so much a question. This is a suggestion to please contact Solana Super Team Belgrade. Lots of events happening in Balkan. Last they were on ETH Belgrade. So Chris,
we talked to Super Team Balkans in Budapest. Rika actually had a longer conversation than I did about this, but
cool.
I don't have a distinct and therefore something will happen. But we talked to them in Budapest. We are in contact with them, so there's a good likelihood that something will happen.
Yeah.
Great. That's perfect. I think then another trip just to go see them. Like, you're talking about you want to go to go take some photos.
Belgrade's like right over there. It's not.
Yeah.
It's super close to you.
Afternoon.
It's super close. Yeah.
How far of a flight is that? Like what? Like
it's not even a flight. You just drive.
Yeah.
Oh, you drive?
Yeah, it's that close.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's super close. Yeah.
I mean, it's a several hour drive. I wouldn't go for lunch, but yeah, it's
oh, okay. Well, that's great. That is so wonderful about that part of the world. In America, it's just so big, and I guess each state is kind of like a mini, because they all have their own jurisdictions, their own laws and stuff. But it's still one country. You have to go a long way to go to a different country if you live in the continental United States. But where you are right now in Europe, I mean, it's just so close to.
Yeah.
So that's great. Okay, so I think we should wrap this up.
Yeah, it's funny. The longer we are, the more people are tuning in.
They've been on for an hour and a half. It must be getting good now.
Well, that trick. There's this trick that if you have like a business meeting, right? Or you may like wondering if you should establish a professional relationship with this other company or something like that, right? You go take them to golf. Because after about 45 minutes, people are, they're aware of how they're presenting themselves. But after about 45 minutes, you start seeing somebody's real self. Yeah. Especially
after 45 minutes, and after they've been tromping around knee deep in alligators or the desert looking for a lost ball, and or they shank one on the third fairway, do they throw their golf clubs in the lake, or do they say, phooey, I'll get it next time, and stay positive? Yeah. God, Jesse's become a libertarian. Jen, you've become like an old Midwestern businessman. What the hell has happened in the last 15 years, guys?
I'll be the next.
Yeah, Jen's like, take them city slickers out golfing to see how they behave with adversity.
Actually, I do not think I would ever want to try golf. So,
yeah.
So I would already fail my own test, like immediately. Do you want to go golf? No, I don't.
Yeah.
We'll get you golfing one of these days. We'll get you golfing.
Yeah, 3 hours. This is good. 3 hours. Yeah, we'll get to our. Honestly, it's funny. If we actually did 3 hours, I bet the number will just go up. That's hilarious.
Oh my gosh, are we going to be like Joe Rogan of DePIN, UpRock DePIN, and Prism?
How does he do so long? There's 90 minutes once a week, and I'm done. And he's like hours and hours.
I know.
That's actually
sometimes.
That's actually the job why we actually have to get back to work.
Yeah, right. This is like a break from work for us. I guess that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, he's so incredible because he's so like well versed in he's not an expert obviously, but like he's well versed in his with his guest. He knows how to talk to his guest. There's not a lot of like so yeah, like he knows what to talk about. It's I know some people have their viewpoints about Joe Rogan, but I really like his podcast. I'm pretty sure nobody here, most people here like him, but I love his podcast. Super interesting. He just had Bernie Sanders too.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's not get assigned into that.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up.
But everyone who tuned in over the time, appreciate all of it. Wow, it's pretty. Yeah, it is always surprising how it grows at the end. That's why I think it's good why we save the Q&A and the product updates to the end, because that's really that's the main purpose of these talks is to communicate what we're building and share with the community and get your support and answer questions. So I think it's good that we always keep that at the end because it's good to see more people tune in on the more important stuff.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll have an UpRock pod soon. I don't know. Maybe we could like pre-record it. But I don't like this live stuff. I don't really like doing I don't know if I want to do like a pre-record, like the all-in podcast, but you know what? Either way.
Live streams where it's at.
Swear to God, the next person who says the word all-in podcast, I hate the all-in podcast.
I love that. They're so fun.
They have ruined the tech community. Ruined.
That happened well before.
Tells me about the all-in podcast.
They're great.
I'm going to strangle him with a copy of the Wall Street Journal and tell him that's what a real businessman reads.
How dare you, sir?
Goddamn podcast.
Just released their tequila, and I think it's $1,200 a bottle.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah. No, they're a good show. How dare you?
I'm going to go step in front of a bus now. You guys just hold on real quick.
I'm being fair for like our future selves because maybe we will be guests, and so I love you guys, Jason, Friedberg, Sachs, and Jamal, and I would love to be a guest.
I would love to be a guest. You guys seem fine, but fuck your show.
Okay. Now, on that note, fuck your show. Let's go.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna call it. I think that's a perfect way to end it, with some controversy, or as Jason would like to call it, Chris's spicy takes.
Spicy takes, is that what we're calling it now?
Yeah.
All right.
I so need to finish the new office space so I can bring the cigars back. I can't believe I didn't get it. See, this is the problem, guys. I'm working too hard on Prism and Uptime and everything else I've been working on instead of finishing the new live stream space.
Is there a new office space movie?
No, I'm turning the garage into a streaming space where I can smoke cigars.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. Oh, cool.
That'd be pretty cool.
That would be funny if there was an office space movie too. And also, speaking of movies, The Naked Gun.
Yeah.
There's a new Naked Gun.
I don't know. I know that people didn't come to hear movie reviews, but Leslie Nielsen's an underappreciated genius, and I don't know if that can be beat. But it could be good. I'm cautiously optimistic.
Liam Neeson. I mean, unexpected.
If anybody can. I mean, but
yeah, I think anywwe.
All right.
Anyway, enough about movies. We're at that 45 minutes. This is how you see the real us. We don't want to get on the phone.
This is why weekly stand-ups are 3 hours long.
They are. Okay. All right. I'm gonna I make executive decision. We're done. We're out of here.
Okay, we're done.
Okay,
we're done.
Right.
You're done.
You're done. You're done.
Cut off.
Get back here, Chris. You're not done until I say you're done. Okay.
Okay.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Let me do some background music so I can be a little professional here. There you go. Thank you for joining us and sticking with us. I mean, gosh, a lot of you on right now, and thanks for sticking 40 minutes past the hour with us. Really appreciate having you, and we will see you next week. Chris,
thanks for spending Thursday with us. We'll talk later.
Bye.
Bye.